Welcome guys, it's Grant Stain here, co-founder of Blam Apps and Blam Websites, and today I'm going to run you through our App Partnership Training Program. This webinar will give you a full understanding of the background, the history of apps, and the best way to sell them and how to help educate clients and customers of the best way of using their apps as a fantastic tool. So let's get straight into it. And one thing I always say with all of our presentations, it's always good to take notes whilst you're watching this presentation, having a listen. So get yourself a notes book and write stuff down. Writing stuff down is a very key way of making things stick in your head, so I'm a real big advocate of this. And try and take away at least 3 takeaways that you commit to. And what I like to say is, if at the end of the presentation you can take those 3 things away and make sure you do them straight away, ideally on the same day, or if you can't do them same day, then start tomorrow. But don't procrastinate, because while it's fresh in your mind, you want to take those takeaways and commit to them. So, apps, a brief history. I'm sure a lot of you will recognise this fella, and this was a key moment in my life. I remember very clearly the day that he introduced the iPhone. It was back in 2008, believe it or not, and that's when the revolution started. And it was a fascinating presentation that Steve Jobs gave on the Apple podium when he said, you know, we're introducing this new product that you've all heard about. It's actually 3 products that we're actually introducing. It's an iPod, a phone, and an internet browsing device. An iPod, a phone, and an internet browsing device. And he said, are you getting it yet? And of course, as we all know, he combined all 3, and Apple had launched the first true smartphone, which is now such an integral part of our lives. But it all started back in 2008, and I think it's easy to forget just how far we've come in that short time, and how the device that was launched back in 2008 has just changed the world that we live in so much. So it was back in 2009 that Apple then opened up the App Store, and this meant that independent developers, such as the business that I was running, were able to openly upload apps that they developed themselves to allow a new marketplace to be born. And as we all know now, the App Store is such a revolutionary idea. But again, 2009 that happened. So from your point of view, when you're out there and you're speaking to customers and speaking to clients, just remember we're in a very young marketplace here. It's not been around very long at all, and that's why it's so fast moving. Okay, so 2010, that is when I launched my first app development house. We all got very excited about the iPhone when it first came out. We got very excited when the App Store opened its doors and allowed us to upload our own designs and customers' apps to the App Store. So I jumped on that very quickly and set up my own business, which was independent of my marketing agency that I was running at the time. And that was back in 2010. So I was there right from the beginning of the app development revolution. And some of you may recognise this fella, the one on the left, that is. Some of you may even recognise the one on the right. This is when I met Gareth. Back in 2012, Gareth bought a franchise off me. And that franchise was called Big Local App, and it was selling apps to small businesses. Now, Gareth was a very unique character in that when he first joined and bought the franchise from me, he was in full-time employment, but he worked his socks off going out and meeting small businesses all over in his hometown city of Swansea, which is where this photograph was taken, and really put himself out there, put him outside of his comfort zone, and he actually became my top franchisee in that business. Which is what led us to go into business together. So back from 2010 to 2016, we've actually developed hundreds of apps, all of which, or in fact the majority of which, for small businesses around the UK. So we've got an awful lot of experience in terms of understanding what helps small businesses want an app and then get the most out of the app once they've actually had it developed. and that's been an evolutionary process throughout the whole time. For the past, well, in fact, it's 2017 now as I narrate this webinar. But look, this is the trajectory that's happened with apps. It's a phenomenon at the moment. We've got 2.5 million apps in 2016, but back in 2010, when I first started, even back then, when you've got what is probably in the region of sort of 300,000 apps, back then that was big news. That was an awful lot of apps in such a short amount of time. And just look at the growth. We are in a huge growth market when we're selling apps, and more apps now are being used for all sorts of different things. And I feel that with the evolution of the smartphone and the way that we can now download apps quite freely onto our smartphones, with Wi-Fi being freely available everywhere and the phones having much more capacity than they used to have, we're in a really good place to keep pushing this and help every small business utilise the power of apps for their benefit. And the revolution, as it says there on the bullet point, is well and truly taken hold. That, incidentally, is a slide that shows the App Store for Apple. You've got roughly the same again for Google. So you're talking well over 4 million apps available at the moment, which is just an absolute staggering amount of apps. The key thing, though, that you need to understand as a partner is that if we look at the pale blue area there back in July 2016, which is the business apps and the apps that we predominantly are discussing, those apps, a massive amount of those are actually what we call zombie apps. Apps that never really do anything. They sit on the App Store and nobody downloads them. Now, it's really key for you guys to understand this, because some of those apps could be the best thing since sliced bread, but if nobody downloads them, then they're absolutely useless. And our job is to help our customers understand that when they have an app developed, it doesn't matter how good that app is, the most important thing is getting people using that app. Now, the majority of those apps that we look at there are not being used and not being downloaded. So it's vitally important that we have that strategy in mind, because the last thing we want to do is provide apps that don't get downloaded. So as a little analogy, just to get your head around the huge amount of apps that we've actually got out there in the App Store, if every app was an apple, it would make 2,288 football pitches long. Now, that is a phenomenal amount of apps, and it really just helps you get your head around the kind of numbers that we're talking about. We're talking about an awful lot of choice out there, and we've got to make the apps that we develop work for our customers. So these two cheeky chappies, you might recognise those as well. We started doing our research in 2016 because what we really wanted to do was develop an app product for small businesses that was affordable and used the characteristics and the features that were going to benefit the small businesses the most. Now, all too often we've seen small businesses come along and have an app developed, pay an awful lot of money for it, and then not get the benefit from it, not get a return on investment. So back in 2016, we set about getting a product organised that could meet that brief and meet that agenda for small businesses, which of course has been our target audience for a while now with our websites. And that led us then to launch in 2017, it was January 2017, Blam Apps. And this is a product that really gets underneath the bonnet of the reason why small businesses need an app and how they're going to use it to get a return on investment, with using a price obviously that is affordable, because that return on investment is key. So Blam Apps, what are our goals? We want to provide the best value apps for small businesses, absolutely fundamental to our core value. Provide the best service and value to our partners. With webinars like this and our ongoing support mechanism, we want you to understand how you can provide the best possible apps to your customers, and in doing that we're servicing you to help you understand. We want to innovate. We're in such a fast moving marketplace. You recall, this marketplace only been there since 2009, so we constantly want to innovate and make sure that we provide cutting edge products. and to offer the best resources to our partners. We're there to help you provide the product and also to help you sell the products. So the resource centre and the way that we provide our resources is key to our goals. And then make us the #1 choice for app resellers, to almost make it a no-brainer. If we get all of these other bullet points nailed, then we're going to be the #1 choice for app resellers, which automatically makes us the #1 choice for small businesses. Of course, if Blam becomes the #1 choice for small businesses, our partners are going to benefit. So those are our goals, and that's the purpose that we put behind our research and development in order to provide these products for our partners to resell. So let's talk about who needs an app. And to do that, first of all, we need to just define what an app is. Now, the Wikipedia description that you'll find is an application, especially as downloaded by a user to a mobile device. Of course, an app, the word app's been around for a long time. We were developing apps well before smartphones were around, computer applications, and that would be software development. So an app is application and software development. And for you guys, it's just good to remind us, where all this jargon came from, because when you're out there selling to small businesses, it's just good to have a little bit of history, just in case you get quizzed on that kind of thing. So let's have a little bit of an understanding of which businesses need an app. Now, historically, the apps that made all the fuss were the Argos app, which is the one on the left, the Facebook app, which is now one of the top selling apps on the App Store. In fact, I think it's quite close to #1 at the moment, as is the Amazon app, another top 10 app. And then you've got the more recent apps like the Costa Coffee app, and a lot of the other big brands of cafes are now bringing out their apps, which are really cool for loyalty and the loyalty side of things. So historically, these are the apps that people would see and use, and then make the leap of thinking, right, as a small business owner, I've seen the Argos app or I've seen the Amazon app, therefore I must need an app, let's get one developed. And in the early days, we certainly had an awful lot of that. The Argos app was a key one, because I remember getting quite a lot of calls because there was a big fuss in the media about the Argos app when it turned over its first £1 million, and we were getting calls saying from small independent businesses saying we need an app because we want to do what Argos did. Of course, there was quite a big disjoint there between their understanding of how they were going to get the downloads and get the customers to engage with that, and of course that's where we come in with our help and advice. But most business owners that we talk to, they will think of the key apps that they use on their phone. So, for example, Facebook, Twitter, Skype, the messaging apps that you get. So one of the key things for you guys to understand as partners when you're out there talking to small business owners is that quite often you're going to come up against a fundamental misunderstanding of how they can get the best use out of the app. Despite what you may think, a lot of business owners are finding it hard to keep up with the technology, and therefore their fundamental understanding of how they can utilize an app can be quite far from the truth. And therefore you get some common mistakes. They'll often think of an app like a website. So if you imagine a website is there to try and engage users, engage customers, to generate a lead, they'll think about an app in very much the same way. They'll think of it just as a sales tool. So if you're going out speaking to small business owners, talking to them about apps, quite often they'll be thinking, okay, how is this app going to get me more customers? I'll come on to that, why that is a mistake. A lot of them, they might think about it for kudos. Now, I'm not 100% against this, because it can be a good marketing tool just to say that you've got an app as a small business, because it does carry a certain amount of cachet, but it's certainly not the main reason why people should be having an app. We get this all the time, and one of the main reasons that we've come up with the product that we have is that most small businesses think that it is too expensive to get an app developed. Of course, we're breaking down that barrier now. And then this is a key one, is that when they do get an app developed, particularly in the retail industry, they don't explain to staff that they've got an app, and therefore the app doesn't get downloaded enough if the staff don't even know they've got an app, how are they going to hope that their customers are going to find out about it? So those are some common mistakes, and if you remember at the beginning, I would urge you to write those down, because these are the kind of things that you need to try and embed into your mind, because this is the kind of thing that you're going to come up against regularly when you're talking to small businesses. So, why do customers want to use an app? I love this picture, because when we go out these days, particularly to a restaurant or a cafe, how often do we see a scene like this? All of their small businesses that are out there, our prime target audience, these small businesses, their customers are all using smartphones, and they're even using them when they're on site at the premises. We've got such a powerful way of marketing to them right in their hands, and we want to make sure that small business owners utilize this and get the most from it, and reminding them by looking at a picture like this, just how they can do that is key. So what we need to think about when we're talking to small businesses and we're talking about helping them with their own app, we've always got to put them in the shoes of their customer. All too often, a client of ours, a small business owner, will be thinking, right, how's this app going to help me? How's it going to get me more customers? How's it going to get my revenue higher? Well, to do that, you've got to think about customer needs. So, a customer needs a loyalty discount. A customer would need loyalty rewards. Convenience. A customer wants an app to be convenient. A customer might want to use an app to purchase. A customer might want a better user experience. So if you think about the reasons why a customer is going to download the app, is going to take the trouble to do that, because let's face it, in the fast-moving, fast-paced world that we live in, to actually take the trouble to go into an app store, download an app, register, you've got to have a real need to do that. And so you've got to give away the loyalty discounts, the rewards. You've got to give the customer a good reason to do that. And these points are key to that. So who needs an app now? So which of our customers need an app now? And these are the ones that we would say are your key target audience. Typically, if you're watching this webinar, it means that you're relatively new to Blam and that you are on the road to going out and start to engage with your first customers. And the easy thing to do right now is to pick on some of these key target audience for ourselves, which are the easy wins. Cafes that want loyalty schemes, takeaways that want menus and ordering systems, churches, believe it or not, have got an engaged congregation that want to receive information about what's going on in their church, or it might be a mosque or a temple. Pubs are great for loyalty schemes and menus and all sorts of push notifications that we can do. Estate agents are key. They want the kudos, but they also want to engage with their customers and try and fight with the online battle that they're facing at the moment with online estate agents. Gyms are fantastic for helping to give class times and personal training techniques and videos and so on. Hairdressers are fantastic for appointment generations, for price lists, and for helping people to see all the new products and services that they've got coming out. And restaurants for food ordering, for menus, for special offers of loyalty discounts. These are the sort of key areas that I would urge you to try and target to start with, and perhaps pick 2 or 3 of these and become an expert in that area, and just understand all of the best ways that the apps can help these kind of customers, so you can get the ball rolling and get some of these customers on board to help you get your feet wet and understand how to sell apps and what the best USPs are, unique selling points for our products. But our difference, so when you're out there, what you need to understand is your difference when you are selling to the customer is understanding that the number one thing that makes an app useful to a small business is customer loyalty. Now, there's plenty of functions within an app, but a lot of them lead back to customer loyalty. Now, if a small business owner is going to get one of his customers or her customers to download an app onto their phone, it's because they want to maintain their loyalty as a customer. So if you don't take anything else away from this presentation, it's please understand that customer loyalty is the #1 reason that we want small businesses to use apps, because they want to try and generate more business and more loyalty from their existing customers. Generating new customers is all well and good, but the most and important thing for a small business owner is to understand that generating more loyalty from their existing customers is key. Because if you provide an app that gives loyalty rewards and makes the customer feel valued and feels like the business is giving something back to them as a result of that download, they're going to tell their friends about it. They're going to show off about the rewards that they've won and the things that they've done. I mean, I know this from personal experience, having done this myself, and that in itself will gain new customers. So the loyalty is a means to an end, and it's key that you guys understand that that is the main reason that you want to get your customers to buy an app from you. So I hope you've all written that one down. They are a customer tool, as it says there. That's absolutely key. So because we understand small business, and this is part of your selling point, you've got to help small businesses understand that that loyalty aspect is the key thing, and you understand small business and you can help small business. So we want you to make this part of your presentation and part of your pitch, in that when you speak to a small business owner, you're saying, look, you may be sold or pitched other people telling you that they're going to produce an app for you, but our difference is that we understand why you need an app, and that customer loyalty is the main priority. The reason we understand small businesses is because, you know, we've been developing apps since 2010, and as a Blam partner, you can use that credibility as part of your presentation and part of your pitch. We've helped over 1,000 businesses enter the app marketplace since 2010. Gareth's probably sold more apps than anybody else on the planet, I would guess. He's an absolute machine when it comes to selling apps, and he totally understands all the ins and outs of why that is a really key part of what small businesses need. I mean, and we've kept up to speed with modern trends as well. When we first went out selling apps, our product was specifically aimed at small businesses to help them enter the app marketplace. Since the beginning of 2017, we've obviously got a product now that gives an independent or a small business the ability to have an app on both app stores for a price that would have been unthinkable even 12-18 months ago. So it gives them a really good opportunity to get a great return on investment. Now, our difference with these apps is, because of all that experience going back to 2010, is that the apps that we now produce have got a finite number of features, and those are the features that work. Now, we know that they work, and we've pre-developed these features, and we can then pull those into the apps that we develop for you guys, and that's where we can give really good value for money, because these features have been pre-developed because we know they work. So these key features are, and of course we've got more than this, but these are the ones as a newcomer to Blam Partners that you need to write down and remember. Loyalty rewards, loyalty stamps, push notifications, external links and feeds, geo directions, booking systems, e-commerce, and a message center. So those are the key ones that I urge you to understand and get your head round. Now, I won't go into full detail on these features in this presentation, but every Blam partner gets their own app, and in the back end of their own app, when you log in, there is a feature that you can look at which gives a full description and examples of all the different features that we have in our apps. Now, the key thing to understand is the features that we've chosen are the ones that work for small businesses. Now, that means that when you go in and see a small business, they may well ask you for something that falls outside of that remit. Now, we don't encourage you to go down the route of trying to get those developed, because we know we can end up in a bit of a dead end where you end up spending a lot more money because you've got to get a bespoke feature developed. And as soon as we get into anything bespoke, you can start getting into realms of thousands of pounds rather than the hundreds that we charge with these features. And quite often the feature, it's very difficult to get the small business owner to get a return on investment on it. So we've chosen the features that work. We urge you to learn these features, understand them, and you can do all of that, as I said, in the back end of your app. And you can then take those features and help small businesses understand that those are the features that are going to get them a return on investment. And if they try and get sidetracked by coming up with something clever or special, then we need to help them come back, drag them back to understanding that we know what we're talking about. We've got the t-shirt, we've been developing apps since 2010, and these are the features that they need. So your job is to help them see that, and quite often these are the features that they're gonna want anyway. But I tell you about this because small business owners sometimes have an idea that they think is going to work, but we know from experience that it won't. And that brings us back to our difference. Because we've pre-developed the features and because we've put them into a platform that means that we can roll them out efficiently, that means small business owners benefit from the low prices, which means that they can get a return on investment. And that's what it's all about. In the past, we've been through a process where we've charged thousands of pounds for small businesses to get a bespoke app developed, and they really do struggle to get a return on investment. And that means that in the long run, they're not going to keep paying you for the residual income, which is what we're all after, and therefore nobody wins. So what we've done is develop these features that means that we can deliver them at a very cost-effective price. They're the features that work for small businesses, which means that you're going to continue getting residual income from the business because the features work for them. And ultimately that comes down to supplying them at the right price, getting those apps to monetize, and charging low ongoing development costs and low ongoing management. Because if you develop a bespoke app, every time that Apple or Google update their platform, you have to redevelop the app, because we never know for sure what's going to happen when they redevelop their operating system. So in the past, when we were developing bespoke apps, every time a new operating system came out, we get a pre-development version of it, and then we have to go and test all of our apps, all of our bespoke apps, and check that they're still going to work on the new operating system. And quite often they don't, and therefore you have to go through a long-winded process of updating the app, and the customer has to pay for that. So quite often we'd end up charging another few £1,000s each time Apple and Google update their operating system, which means that a small business owner has got, even less chance of getting a return on investment. With the platform that we've got now, we update all of our features in one go when the new operating systems come out, meaning that the ongoing price is fixed, and the end user and the customer knows that the prices aren't going to be a shock to them. They're fixed, they're ongoing, and they don't get any nasty surprises every time a new operating system comes out. So, I hope that gives you a good understanding of the reasons why small business owners are going to value our products and they're going to get the most out of them. I hope it helps you understand the key reasons behind small businesses getting their own app developed. And I'll say it again before I sign off. Customer loyalty is the key feature that you need to remember when you're talking to these small business owners, and customer loyalty is the thing that's going to help you gain retention of your customers and an ongoing residual income, and it's going to help your customers retain their clients, and it's a win-win for everybody. So I hope you found that useful. I'll be producing some more app presentation training videos soon, so keep your eyes peeled for those, and I look forward to seeing you next time.